All right, I think we are ready to go. So, hello, everybody, and welcome to today's section with Connetics College and Swoosh English. My name is Scott. I'm a PTE teacher and managing director of Swoosh English, and we are one of Connetics' partners in the Connetics Scholarship Program, helping you guys get to the USA quicker, with more certainty, and with more ease. We help out with the English language provision element of the Connetics Scholarship Wing. So it's lovely seeing everyone here today. I can't wait to see and actually speak to some of you in this speaking session today. So please say hello wherever you are watching right now. You might be watching on the Connetics Facebook channel, the Connetics YouTube channel, Connetics LinkedIn, Connetics Twitter, or even on the Swoosh English channels as well. So please send a comment in and say hello to us today. I'll be very happy to speak to some of you, find out who you are, where you're from, what you're looking to do with your big USA healthcare journey, and how we at Swoosh and Connetics can help you to do that. So we got Mariah has said hello. Hello to Mariah. How are you today? Hello to Ezra as well, has said hello. And hello to Yakul, has said hello as well. Welcome to everyone. So let us know in the comments as well where you are from, what your big dream is, where you're looking to move to in the USA if you can, and also even what time it is. It's currently 1:02 p.m. here in Ireland, where I am from. So it's going to be a bit different from where you guys are in the world. So we've got Mariah said from the Philippines. Welcome to our Filipinos watching here today. I know there's a good number of you. And we have M has said hello as well. Hello to M. Jane. Hello to you too, and everyone else who is watching. We'll take one more before we get started into this session today. Ezra said, I am from Sudan. Welcome to Ezra from Sudan. So keep the comments coming in, guys. Just take note that there will be a link coming in at a certain point today. That link will invite you to come into the Connetics studio, Swoosh Connetics studio today, for a chance for you to actually do some mock speaking practice with me today for your PTE exam, because this session today is right here. It says right here, it's on the Pearson PTE academic exam, which of course is now going to be an option for many of you looking to move to the USA for your English language certification and for your visa screening as well. That's why we're focusing a bit on PTE. Oh, we got a few more comments coming in. I can't not say hello to the people who are saying hello to me right here. We got Jake from the UAE. Hello to Jake. Hope you're doing well today. We have Anna from the Philippines as well. Hello, Anna. I hope you're well. And thanks a lot for tuning in today. We got Geneva from the Philippines too. And we got Cathay from the Philippines as well. Lots of our Filipino audience here are checking in. You are all welcome, no matter what time it is, where you are from, and why you're even watching this session today. Enjoy, everyone. So let's just get started now into our live speaking class. I'm just going to drop that link in first. So check out the link, guys. It says StreamYard. That link is for you to come in and enjoy and to join me in the studio if you want a chance later on in this session today to do some mock PTE speaking practice as part of today's session. So check out the link that says StreamYard. It says, come join us to practice your PTE speaking in today's session. Click on that link, follow the instructions, come in if you can, and we'll get you a chance to do some mock PTE speaking practice with me later on. So let's just get stuck in to today's lesson. It's going to be on, of course, PTE listening and speaking with me. That's me, Scott, from Swoosh English. We're going to be going through some mock speaking practice today. So for everyone who's watching today, I want to know a bit more about you and what you want from this journey that you're going on. You're all looking, maybe you're just nosy today, checking in and seeing what we can do here at Connetics and Swoosh English, but more than likely, you're all looking to move to the USA. You've got a dream healthcare job that you have in mind, and you want to take that opportunity. So let me know in the chat box, are you a qualified and experienced nurse looking for your dream healthcare job in the UK. So qualified and experienced. You think you have what it takes to move to the USA. If you think that is you, type me into the chat box, guys. Type me into the chat box if you think that is you. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Send that me into the chat box. Okay? All right. So some of you are saying me. Of course you are. So if you, this applies to. My next question is, are you struggling with your PTE preparation or your IELTS preparation or your OET preparation? Swish and Connetics offers preparation courses on the IELTS, the OET, and the PTE. So if you're thinking about how do I overcome my English language challenges, type struggle into the chat box if you think that is me. You've got a lot of you are saying me. Geneva has shouted me to the rooftops. So a lot of you are struggling with your English language exam preparation. And we see this an awful lot here at Swish English and Connetics about the problems that there are with ineffective language preparation. We want to ensure that we get you there with speed, certainty, and ease. And that's where we come in here at Swish. Final question is, imagine that you could do this all for completely free. So let me know in the chat box, would you like to successfully prepare for and pass your PTE or your OET or your IELTS and move to the USA and get your dream job for free? If you think that is you, type please into the chat box. We've got a few comments coming in here. Geneva has said, IELTS in particular, I struggle a lot. Geneva, I hear you. I've heard this so many times, and you're not the only one in this boat. I'm sure a lot of you are in the same situation right now, regardless if it's IELTS, OET, or PTE. So yeah, some of you are saying, please, of course, it's a free option to get you to the USA, to get your English language passed, to get your NCLEX passed, to get your visa screening and all that done for you. Well, the amazing thing is, guys, is that we at Swish and Connetics can do that for you. That's great. So we can, I'm just going the wrong way, guys, sorry. I want to introduce very quickly the free Connetics and Swish English PTE, IELTS, OET scholarship. You now have the opportunity of picking 3 English language exams for your visa screening and your English language certification to the USA, state dependent. I'm going to talk about the PTE one today. So what do you get in our free Connetics scholarship program? We get a complimentary PTE review course or an IELTS review course or an OET review course. That includes free daily PTE, IELTS, or OET classes, free study groups and study partners, a Telegram support group for you to ask any questions at any time and keep motivated with other students in the session. And you also get help from a Connetics PTE support specialist. Inside the program, in terms of what this free review looks like, well, you get access to video courses and quizzes for reading, writing, listening, and speaking for PTE, OET, or IELTS, depending on what exam you want to take. You'll get chances to have your writing corrected, your IELTS Task 1, Task 2, your OET letters, and your PTE writing exercises as well, with feedback from expert teachers like myself and others at Swish English. All of the classes are completely recorded. We have a live class schedule you can attend every week, multiple times per day, a bit like what you're doing right now. The best thing is that you can watch these classes back at any time, making your studies entirely flexible around you, your lifestyle, your working patterns, etc., etc. You get access to mock exams, so you don't have to take the PTE, IELTS, and OET exam and hope for the best. You can instead take mini mock exams with us at Swish English. We'll test you, we'll give you a score, and we'll determine if we think you're on the right path to success and your skills are getting better. In addition to that, you get round-the-clock support from the Swish and the Connetics team. So we would love to have you join us as part of the free Connetics English Language Scholarship with Swish English. And don't forget, it's all completely free. It doesn't end there, guys. Connetics are trying to help you out on every step of your immigration journey. We help you with your NCLEX. We help you with your interview preparation. We help you with getting your visa sorted. We get you licensed and credentialed, including your English language exam. We help get you ready to make your big move. There's also support for you when you arrive in the USA and you get stuck into your hospital or your job. We want you to enjoy and prosper. So it sounds quite nice, right? Of course it is. So if you are interested, guys, you're going to see a banner here now on the screen. Click in this link that says right here, apply today, bit.ly /Connetics/USA to get signed up today. If you're interested in joining this completely free scholarship, then click on that link today. You're going to see it on the screen now for a moment. I'm going to drop the links in to where you can see them now in the chat boxes. Guys, if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, click on that link, bit.ly /Connetics/USA today to begin your American healthcare job journey with Swoosh English and with Connetics. It sounds great, right? We'd love to have you there as part of this process, all for completely free. So guys, let's get stuck into the next part of this class today. So we're going to talk now about what we're doing in this PTE session today. The lesson aims are we're going to look at task requirements and scoring for one particular exercise, and that is retell lecture. We're looking at retell lecture today, and many of you know what that exercise is. It's a constant bane in many students' PTE experience. And if you're just curious about PTE today and what the exam is like, well, you'll find a bit about retell lecture today. We're going to learn some valuable tips to score well in this task. We're going to practice with some retell lecture mock prompts. You're going to have a chance to get some feedback from me if you want to do some speaking today. And everyone else can just listen to some teacher feedback on their English language, on their PTE progress, and see where it goes from there. Sounds good, right? So guys, let's have a look now at what retell lecture is. It's one of the combined listening speaking exercises that you have to do in PTE. So you are scored on your listening and your speaking simultaneously. The task itself involves listening to a short lecture of about 90 seconds, and then you have to give a summary in your own words about what the lecture was talking about, summarizing the key points, giving order, etc., etc. You'll have approximately 40 seconds to speak. If you go longer than 40 seconds, the microphone will be cut off, because that's right, PTE is done entirely on the computer. You don't have to speak to anyone. Therefore, the algorithm, the program, will shut that microphone off if you hit the 40 seconds. You have 10 seconds of preparation time before you speak. So you do have some time to get ready for listening, after listening to the recording, and then beginning how you will speak overall. And you are scored in 3 areas in this section of the exam. It includes your content, your pronunciation, and your oral fluency. So content is, have you included all the main talking points that the lecture discussed? Pronunciation, have you spoken clearly? Have you pronounced your vowels, your consonants, your diphthongs, etc.? How is your intonation? And then finally, your oral fluency, which is both the speed at which you speak and the smoothness. It's everything joined together correctly, grammatically, and structured like the English language should be. So that's a rough overview of what retell lecture constitutes. Let's have a look now at some of that scoring criteria in a little more detail. So as we discussed, there are 3 traits scored: pronunciation, oral fluency, and content. And as you can see, each section is scored out of 5. If you look at pronunciation, you can see that 5 is native-like and 0 is non-English. The same with oral fluency, 5 native-like and 0 is disfluent. Now, as you know, PTE is scored out of 90 in total for the exam, and you guys are going to need 55 plus now for your visa screening. So you want to be scoring somewhere between a 3 and a 4 for all of the activities to match that criteria. So your English language as a whole should be between good and advanced according to this criteria to get yourselves in your healthcare position using the PTE exam. Now let's have a look briefly at the content in a bit more detail. Also scored out of 5 that you can see. And if you're looking for a 3 and a 4, which you will need to do on average across every exercise, A 3 constitutes dealing with most points in the presentation and refers to their implications and conclusions, so what's being implied and what can be concluded from the point. And a 4 describes all key points of the presentation and their relations, referring to their implications and conclusions. So you're wanting to actually score pretty well in this exercise and everything. A reminder that between a 3 and a 4 is required to get that PTE passing score on average. So let's have a look now at a few tips for a retell lecture before we actually begin looking at this exercise in more detail. Tip number 1, before listening, look at the image and predict what you are going to hear. For retell lecture and PTE, when you have your time before the listening begins and while the recording is playing, there will be an image, and that image will summarize everything about the particular recording that you're going to hear. You can use that to predict the topic and predict some of the talking points. It can help you then with zoning in your listening for the key points that you will then hear and have to recount. Tip number 2, keep your notes to short phrases. Avoid writing down long sentences. So you'll have a notepad beside you, hopefully for today. If you don't have one, get one for the activities that we are doing. But you'll have a chance to actually write down your notes. You don't want to write down long notes for this particular exercise or anything in general, because you have to actually be able to speak freely in the exam as a whole, guys. You have to be able to speak freely. So if you're writing long notes, you're going to be spending too much time reading those notes and engaging what's called rote learning. You need to be able to think and speak freely without reading what you see. Tip number 3 is use your 10 seconds wisely to plan your answer. As mentioned, you have 10 seconds between the recording ends and when the speaking microphone opens to really summarize what you're going to be speaking about. And I would use that time thinking about how are you going to begin this particular exercise. Tip number 4 is to focus on the main points of the lecture. Every section, every clause should be revolving around a main point, which you will have heard in your listening exercises themselves. Don't forget to score well on the content. You have to have the main points recounted and expanded upon when you're speaking. Tip number 5 is try not to hesitate or correct yourself midway. Move on if you stutter or make a mistake. Lots of candidates struggle about the PTE exam and the IELTS and the OET for that matter as well. I make a mistake. What do I do? Oh, I'm going to go back and keep trying to correct myself. If you can correct yourself immediately, then do it. There's no harm in that. But if you made a mistake and you've realized I made a mistake a few seconds ago, and you go back to correct that mistake, then that's actually affecting your fluency because you're going to be speaking in a very disjointed way. My recommendation is it's important that you keep your content and your flow better than trying to improve your small grammatical mistakes. Once again, if you can correct them immediately, do so. But if you don't worry about it, forget about it, and keep the rest of your speaking activity as high quality as you can. Okay. Tip number 5, we're going to go into this in a bit more detail in the next slide, is to use structural markers to organize your ideas. You are, of course, going to have to retell a structured lecture in your own words. So you're going to have to actually structure that appropriately yourself, differentiate between your introduction, your main points, and your conclusion. So structural markers are important to keep your own structure intact as well. How can we do that? Well, let's have a look briefly now at some structural markers for PTE. So when you're listening to the recording itself, you're going to hear it structured, as I mentioned, and you want to be able to retain that structure when you are retelling that lecture. So you can divide your own retelling into 3 main areas: the introduction, the main body, aka the points that are being made, and the conclusion. So the introduction is simply introducing what you're going to say. What is the first thing that is said? And we can open up in a very academic style prose by using phrases like this. The lecturer or the reporter, because you might hear news reportings at the same time, begins by, let's see what they're saying. The lecturer begins by speaking about the perils of climate change in the year 2020, for example. A different focus would be the lecture focused on the perils of climate change in the year 2020, etc., etc. So begin by using the noun describes who the person is and what they do. They begin by or they focus on. Take a note or two of these structures and see if you can use these in your own time. Then once we've satisfied the introduction, we should move on to the conclusion, or sorry, the main body afterwards. And this is where we actually give sequencing devices to separate the points that will be discussed in the main part of the lecture. So the introduction should have about roughly 10 seconds or so. Then we divide the rest of the time into the main body and the conclusion. So we can use firstly, secondly, thirdly, finally, but usually you only have maybe 2, maximum 3 points to discuss in PTE retail lectures. So mostly firstly, secondly, and finally will be okay when giving your adverbs of sequence. We could even say something like the speaker's first point was point 1, the speaker's second point was give your point, or even use a combination of both of them. The speaker's first point was to talk about how climate change is affecting sea levels. Then we can use secondly in the first device to show a variance in our structural markers, talk about point 2, etc. We can also use our adverbs of addition, in addition, moreover, also, etc., etc. Or we can even use then, we might need to use these second adverbs too, the adverbs of dissuasion. So we got our contradiction, sorry. However, on the contrary, conversely. So we might want to talk about one given point in particular, and we might want to give about our second point afterwards. So in addition, moreover, however, on the contrary, conversely. So you use a variety of these sequencing devices to give that structure to your PTE main points. A reminder, you'll typically have 3 maximum or so to discuss in retail lecture. And then finally, we've dedicated about 7 to 10 seconds on our introduction, about 20 seconds or so on our main body. We then have to conclude at the very end, our remaining 7 to 10 seconds. We can use phrases like in conclusion, to sum up, in summary, and then give your concluding part to this role play, this speaking part as a whole. So if anyone here is used to the IELTS exam, which I'm sure many of you are, you're basically just making a mini task too, but you're speaking it instead of writing it. So that's basically what the structure is. It's highly academic, it's highly formal, a mini spoken IELTS task too in terms of the formality and the phrases that you are using. So everyone just take a brief note of some of these phrases here that you can use in your PTE retail lecture, some of these structural markers. And if anyone wants to get a chance to do some speaking practice with me now in a moment, you are more than welcome to use these. In fact, I encourage you to use these in your next batch of speaking practice that we will be doing now in a moment. So we're going to move on now to our actual speaking practice. And just once again, before I move on to the next part of the class, I'm just going to send that invite back into anyone who actually wants to engage in some speaking practice. So check now, guys, in the comments. Let's go full screen for this. Check now in the comments. There is a link that says, come join us to practice your PTE speaking. Click on that link, come in, have a quiet environment as best as you can. Turn on your camera if you can, because I like speaking to people and not this voice on the other side of the internet. And ideally, obviously, a good working connection if possible as well. Come in, just turn off your camera and remain for a chance to do some speaking practice with me in a moment. So once again, click on that link that says StreamYard to come in for a chance to practice your PTE speaking with me now in a moment when we do some live PTE speaking practice here now. So retail lecture practice, listen to the lecture and take notes. A reminder that you will have 10 seconds to prepare your answer, and a reminder as well to use structural markers to organize your answer. The structural markers that we spoke about there are key to actually having fantastic structure in your PTE mock speaking prompts. Okay, so let's now move on to retail lecture prompt number 1. I'm going to begin playing the recording now in a moment. Reminder, it's around about 90 seconds. As you can see, you have an image right here. That image gives you a clue about what the main topic of the lecture you're going to hear is. So look at this image. What do you think the main topic of this lecture is? Get a pen, get some paper ready to take down your notes on the main points of the lecture that you're going to hear. Remember, keep those notes nice and short. Don't write out long sentences so that you can read them as note form and use them to retell the lecture when you hear them when the speaking exercise begins now in a moment. So I'm going to go full screen. The recording will begin. Once the recording is ended, I'm going to give some candidates a chance to come in and join me in the speaking studio. Reminder, click on that link to come in and join if you want a chance to speak. Let's play the recording.
Around the same time we began exploring space, scientists were studying changes taking place in the Earth's atmosphere. Now, scientists had known since the 1800s that greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide trap heat and that burning fossil fuels release those gases into the air. That wasn't news. But in the late 1950s, the National Weather Service began measuring the levels of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere, with the worry that rising levels might someday disrupt the fragile balance that makes our planet so hospitable. And what they found year after year is that the levels of carbon pollution in our atmosphere have increased dramatically. That science, accumulated and reviewed over decades, tells us that our planet is changing in ways that will have profound impacts on all of humankind. The 12 warmest years in recorded history have all come in the last 15 years. Last year, temperatures in some areas of the ocean reached record highs, and ice in the Arctic shrank to its smallest size on record, faster than most models had predicted it would. These are facts.
Okay, and that was Retail Lecture prompt number 1. So did you get a chance to listen to the lecture? Did you get a chance to write down some of your key notes and some of your key words? And are you now ready to have a go at retelling the lecture, practicing your English with me today in a fun, friendly way? Come in and do your absolute best whatsoever. It's always a nice thing to build up that confidence with your speaking ahead of your English language exams that you all will be doing, I'm sure, as part of your visa screening process. A reminder that you only get to hear the lecture once in PTE. You do have to do numerous retail lecture prompts, but you only get to hear each recording once. So I'm going to try and keep it to one recording today. So far, unfortunately, I don't actually have anyone who's came into the studio to join me, but I'm seeing there's a lot of you watching today. So I want to know what's stopping you from coming in today and doing some fun PTE speaking practice with me today. So we can't actually do this class unless we have someone who's going to come in and have a chance to do some PTE speaking with me. So I'm going to drop that link in one more time. As you can see, it's now on the Swoosh English channel. It's on the Connetics Facebook channel. It's on the Connetics YouTube channel as well. Click on that link that says, come join us to practice your PTE. Come on in for a chance to do some PTE speaking with me today. I look forward to having you guys come into the session today. I've had numerous speakers on these classes before, and like some of you guys, they were probably a bit apprehensive about coming in. They were a bit worried, a bit anxious, a bit concerned about their speaking. And once they actually had a chance to come on to the session today and engage in some speaking practice with me and everyone else, they thoroughly enjoyed the experience and were happy that they took that jump into actually getting some feedback from expert teachers to improve their speaking overall. And it made them feel more confident with their own speaking prep that they did afterwards. So just one more call before we move on to the next prompt, but one more call for someone to come into the studio today and to do some speaking practice with me, to have a chance with their OET speaking or their PTE speaking practice, please. So looking forward to have someone come in and join me. While I'm waiting for someone to come in and join me, I'll play the recording one more time, but one more time only, just to make sure everyone is up to date with the PTE speaking practice that we're going to try and do today. So I'll play that recording one more time, put the prompt on screen, but I want one person to come in, please, and do some speaking practice with me today ahead of your PTE exam and get a chance to speak to a native speaker like me and get the feedback that you need for your English language exams as part of your big move to the USA. So let's play that prompt one more time.
Around the same time we began exploring space, scientists were studying changes taking place in the Earth's atmosphere. Now, scientists had known since the 1800s that greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide trap heat and that burning fossil fuels release those gases into the air. That wasn't news. But in the late 1950s, the National Weather Service began measuring the levels of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere, with the worry that rising levels might someday disrupt the fragile balance that makes our planet so hospitable. And what they found year after year is that the levels of carbon pollution in our atmosphere have increased dramatically. That science, accumulated and reviewed over decades, tells us that our planet is changing in ways that will have profound impacts on all of humankind. The 12 warmest years in recorded history have all come in the last 15 years. Last year, temperatures in some areas of the ocean reached record highs, and ice in the Arctic shrank to its smallest size on record, faster than most models had predicted it would. These are facts.
Okay, and that was the second time having a chance to listen to retail lecture prompt number 1. Unfortunately, we still don't have anyone that's come and join us today inside the studio, which means no one today wants to do some mock speaking practice with me. Maybe you're just feeling a bit apprehensive about this activity. Maybe you're not sure about how this activity might go. Maybe you're just unfamiliar with the PTE exam format at this point. So what I will gladly do now, before we move on to our second prompt, is I will give a demo about how this activity should be. I'll bring up the prompts on the screen here, and I'll give a demo on how we can ideally structure this section as a whole. So as you could probably see on the timer itself, the prompt itself, sorry, there was an image of the world, and the world was on fire. What was that key topic? Well, that key topic was climate change and the effects that are happening in the world. So I'm just going to give a brief demo about how we can use some of these introduction, main body, and conclusion structural markers as a suggestion about how we link this section together. I'm going to time myself approximately 40 seconds to see how well this can go. So listen in and how this activity might take place. 40 seconds begins now. So the lecturer begins by talking about how climate change has been observed alongside space travel for many years. The first point regarding climate change is in regards to how our weather systems are being impacted and how the world is warming. In addition, they also talked about the loss of wildlife and the loss of habitats that are happening due to climate change. And finally, they talked about how this is happening incredibly quickly. In conclusion, climate change is happening incredibly quickly, and it's having very bad effects in our world. So there's a sample how we do retail lecture as a whole. I came in there at approximately 38 seconds, so my timing was quite good. And as you can see, when you're doing this activity, guys, you don't really have a lot of time to talk about and discuss each point. So you do have to be very quick. Notice, of course, I'm a native English speaker. I'm an expert English teacher as well. So my pacing is quite good. My fluency, of course, is very, very good. But don't be intimidated by that. I want you just to be aware about your speaking speed, your confidence, your breathing, and your fluency when you're having a chance to do this as a whole. So that was the first activity, guys. Let's now have a look at prompt number 2. This time, I would love someone to come in and take a chance to do some speaking practice with me, please. Otherwise, I'm going to be speaking to myself this entire section. Maybe you're enjoying just listening to how I recall some of these prompts. If so, that is fine. But I would love to have someone come in and do some speaking practice with me. There was a student that did come in and then left. That made me sad. So please come in and do some retail lecture mock speaking practice with me as part of your own PTE preparation. So let's just put this prompt full screen now, and I'll play the recording. Have a look at the image once again. What do you think the main topic of the image is based on what you have heard here? Get your notepad, get your pen ready, and take part in this activity. Here begins lecture number 2.
On Tuesday, equity markets across the globe jumped at the news that the Trump administration would delay some of the new tariffs on China it had announced earlier this month. But just one day later, global stock markets sold off hard due to ever-weakening economic data in Europe and Asia and further yield curve inversions. Call it a major hangover. The reversal in tariffs did not come from a position of strength. It came as a result of global economic realities sinking and crushing US markets. Turns out trade wars are not easy to win, and the global growth picture is not looking good. Last week, the UK announced negative GDP growth for the past quarter. This week, it's Germany announcing shrinking GDP with its 10-year bond hitting a record negative of 0.62% yield. Then there's Europe seeing negative industrial production, and China announcing its lowest industrial production growth in 17 years. The collapse in global bond yields has been a theme since October of last year, with 10-year US Treasury bonds dropping to 1.6% from their October 2018 high of 3.23%. Now that the 2-year, 10-year Treasury yield curve has inverted, the recession alarm bells are ringing. Why? Because every single recession in the past 45 years has seen a yield curve inversion preceding it. Around the same time we began exploring space, scientists...
All right, and that was prompt number 2. Now, once again, have a look at the image. Tell me what you think the main topic was in that image. You can see obviously pictures of the Chinese flag and the American flag, and pictures of the Chinese currency and the American currency as well. The main topic of this was the trade war. So a trade war was the main topic, and it was talking about how this trade war was impacting shares, stocks, and bonds as a whole. Do I have anyone that wants to come in and do some speaking practice with me today? Don't forget that you do need to be able to speak about these very well for your PTE academic exam. The same can be said about your IELTS exam and your OET exam as well. So if you're not actually engaging in appropriate practice with appropriate feedback, you will struggle with this element of your exam. And you may go down the route of taking this exam numerous times again and again and again. That's why we at Swoosh are here with Connetics USA. We are trying to help candidates get to their passing score as quickly and cheaply as possible. And what's really important as part of that process is to engage in speaking feedback, in writing feedback, and feedback in all parts of the exam to ensure that you are able to get there as quickly as possible. So do not waste this opportunity for a chance to come into the studio today. Click on that link that says streamyard.com and engage in actually getting some speaking feedback as part of your PTE, your IELTS, and your OET exam. Do not waste this opportunity to get it for free and to sample what we at Swoosh English can do for you as part of your IELTS and OET and PTE preparation. So since no one wants to come in and join me so far as well today, we'll do this one right now. Farhat, you're very, very welcome. Thank you for the information. Come on in and do some speaking with me. That would be nice. And I will just have a brief summary of how we can actually structure this prompt as a whole. So let's start. 40 seconds begins now. The lecture started by speaking about how the trade war was impacting currency and yield and stock throughout the globe. The first point was discussing how China's yield exports have decreased by a significant percent due to its trade war with the USA. In addition, it talked about how the USA and China's trade war is impacting currency remuneration across Europe and the wider world. In conclusion, it's important that this trade war is rectified immediately to stop a wider fallout happening in the global currency index. So there we go, 39 seconds as a whole. And as you can see, I managed to avoid actually quoting some of those numbers. Yes, if you can take some of those finer details, then please do use them when it comes to PTE Retail lecture. But the most important thing you should be doing is getting those main points summarized and discussing those main points. You don't have time to go into lots of detail. Don't forget, your retelling is going to be less than 50% of the length of the lecture that you have told. So you have to think about those main points straight away, get rid of some of the details, and put it together in a nice concrete package that you can then present to the computer and the algorithm as it is presented. Okay, let's then move on to our final retail lecture prompt today. I'm pretty certain that one of you is going to come in today and engage in some PTE speaking practice with me. If you're enjoying the session today, guys, then please click a like, click subscribe, click follow if you're watching on the Connetics channels or you're watching on the Swoosh English channels. It's turned into more of a demo about how these exercises work versus actually doing some live speaking practice. That's completely fine if you want to involve the session that way. But hope you're enjoying this session. Click like, click subscribe, follow Connetics, and follow Swoosh English for this session as a whole. So let's get in then to our final retail lecture prompt today, and it is prompt 3. So have a look at the picture here. What do we think the main topic of this picture is? Pinpoint some of the details, what we think it might be about as a whole as well. Write down your notes. The lecture will begin now in a moment. When it does begin in a moment, we can then begin with our lecture listening. So let's bring it up full screen. Enjoy following along with the lecture and see if you can get those main points down on paper.
As beginner photographers, we tend to be visual learners, and it's my job to make beginning photography as easy as possible for you. For those beginning photography, exposure is key to capturing a great image. Learning how exposure works will help you take control of your camera and take better photos. Aperture, shutter speed, ISO are the elements that combine to create an exposure. As you'll soon learn, these elements have an effect on more than just the exposure. They also cause alterations in depth of field, motion blur, and digital noise. Once you understand how each one works, you can start diving into manual mode. This is where you take back control from your camera. The exposure triangle is a great way to remember the 3 settings. When combined, they control the amount of light captured from any given scene. This will help you to understand that changing one setting will necessitate a change in the others. That is, if you are photographing the same scene with the same exact lighting conditions. Exposure happens in 3 steps. We will start with the aperture. This is the hole inside the lens through which the light passes. It's similar to the pupil of your eye. The wider the aperture, the more light is allowed in, and vice versa. Simple? Not quite.
So that is retail lecture prompt number 3. Once again, having a look at the image, what do you think the main topic was? Well, even though we see what looks to be Shanghai in China in this picture, you can see by the tower behind, it actually isn't about the city as a whole. It's actually what we call a long exposure photograph. So photography is the central topic of this image, and the lecture talked about various components of photography as a whole. So let's just move back then to the final prompts at the end of the structural markers that we can use here, and I'll demonstrate how some of this might actually work. However, we do actually have, can I believe it? We do actually have someone who's come in to the studio today. Can I believe that? Claudine has enjoyed us, so I'm going to actually turn on Claudine's camera and microphone now. And I think Claudine would like to actually engage in some speaking practice. So, Claudine, I'm turning you on and bringing you in three, two, one. Hello, Claudine. Can you turn on your microphone? Are you there? I'm getting trolled in my own sessions. Claudine, maybe you're having some
Hi.
connection problems. Oh, great!
Yes, I'm
Fantastic.
I'm having technical problems. Wait, please. Sorry.
I can hear you loud and clear now. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes.
Are you able to speak?
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, it's very nice to meet you. How are you today?
I'm doing fine.
Tell me a bit about yourself. Where are you from? When you moved to the
I'm from
USA?
the Philippines and I'm working in one of the hospitals here in the Philippines.
Fantastic. And what is your dream healthcare job? Where do you want to move to?
I'm right now.
Where do you want to move to?
I'm working as a outpatient nurse, one
And do
of
you
the
want
hospitals.
fantastic. And do you know what English language exam you'd like to take for your visa screening for the USA?
English. English.
IELTS, OET, PTE? What do you think at
Ye-
this point?
yes, it's IELTS. This is all about how you speak in English as well, and also how you practice to speak with a foreign language the moment you start working in the United States.
That's true. So you have the IELTS, the OET, and the PTE are three choices.
Yes.
Regardless, you get the practice you're speaking today for the PTE exam, but it's incredibly useful for every aspect of the job. So, Claudine, it's very nice to meet you. Would you like to try and summarize what you heard in the lecture for about 40 seconds?
Oh, unfortunately, I didn't I didn't catch up everything. Sorry.
That's okay. What I'll do is I'll play it one more time, and then we'll go through a bit of speaking practice with you. Would that be okay?
Okay.
I'll let you catch up. I want to give you a chance to do this. So let's listen to the lecture one more time, everyone. And Claudine's going to summarize it for us in a second.
On Tuesday, equity markets across the globe jumped at the news that the Trump administration would delay some of the new tariffs on China it had announced earlier this month. But just one day later, global stock markets sold off hard due to ever weakening economic data in Europe and Asia and further yield curve inversions. Call it a major hangover. The reversal entirely. As beginner photographers, we tend to be visual learners, and it's my job to make beginning photography as easy as possible for you. For those beginning photography, exposure is key to capturing a great image. Learning how exposure works will help you take control of your camera and take better photos. Aperture, shutter speed, ISO are the elements that combine to create an exposure. As you'll soon learn, these elements have an effect on more than just the exposure. They also cause alterations in depth of field, motion blur, and digital noise. Once you understand how each one works, you can start diving into manual mode. This is where you take back control from your camera. The exposure triangle is a great way to remember the three settings. When combined, they control the amount of light captured from any given scene. This will help you to understand that changing one setting will necessitate a change in the others. That is, if you are photographing the same scene with the same exact lighting conditions. Exposure happens in three steps. We will start with the aperture. This is the hole inside the lens through which the light passes. It's similar to the pupil of your eye. The wider the aperture, the more light is allowed in, and vice versa. Simple? Not quite.
And as we end that, we're probably going to say it was simple, but not quite, Claudine. Sure. So, Claudine, would you like to have a go at summarizing what you heard in the lecture? I'll time you for approximately 40 seconds.
It's so hard.
Well, how can we simplify it? How can we talk about 3 quick main points? And how can we introduce the lecture? And how can we conclude the lecture? But yes, it is quite tricky. What I'll do though is I'll help you out by putting some of these structural markers on the screen for you. So you can introduce yourself and the lecture. You can introduce the main body paragraphs, and you can introduce the conclusion statements as well to help you out. What do you think the main topic was, Claudine?
This is all about market.
About photography. The
Yes,
section of
about
photography.
photography.
So then you could begin by saying something like, the lecturer begins by speaking about the components of photography. Okay. I'm going to give you 3 words that you can use to talk about your main body prompts. The first word is aperture, A-P-R-T-U-R-E. The second was light. And the third was complexity of photography. So you've got aperture, light, and complexity. They can be your 3 main topics, if you can speak a brief sentence on them. And then, oh, I think Claudine's actually left us, unfortunately. Oh dear. Well, let's have a go then at doing this by doing it by ourselves. I'll do it by myself here. So let's listen. The lecturer began by speaking about the 3 components of photography. The speaker's first point was talking about aperture and how that let different amounts of light in. The second point was speaking about depth of field and how that allows us to see different components of how our camera sees. The third point was speaking about ISO and how ISO allows a certain amount of light into our camera. In conclusion, the lecturer spoke about how photography isn't simple and is quite complex. So maybe I made it sound a bit easy because obviously I know the PTE exam well. I'm a native English speaker. But if we can think about ways that we can break down these lectures, what's the main topic? What's the introduction? What are the main points? What is the conclusion? And how can we introduce those one by one? We're doing quite well in how we do PTE, because PTE is now a major exam for everyone who's moving to the USA to use for their English language certification as a whole. And it's proven very popular here at Connetics as well as an option that many nurses are taking, because you don't have to speak to anyone, you only speak to a computer. But it's important that we learn how to do the various components of the PTE exam well, so we can get that higher, that their passing score first and only time. So let's summarize then the rest of this session, guys. Let me know in the chat box. What did you learn about PTE retail lecture today? And what did you enjoy in today's lesson? And what do you feel like you still need to improve when it comes to your own English language practice as well? Throw a comment into the chat box. Let us know how you felt this session. And if you enjoyed the session today and it was a bit different to how it was supposed to go, click like, give us some love, give us a subscribe, give us a follow on Connetics, on Swoosh English, so that you can be kept up to date with all the lovely things that we're doing for RNs from the Philippines and wider as part of their English language moving journey to the USA. So once again, guys, as I said at the very beginning of the session, if you are a qualified and experienced nurse, you might have the NCLEX, you might have the experience, you might have other aspects of your big healthcare dream move, and you're looking for your dream healthcare job in the USA, type me into the chat box. We get something that you might want to hear. And let us know if you're struggling as well with your PTE, your IELTS, and your OET preparation. The majority of candidates take these exams 3 to 4 times. In some ways, this exam, your English language exam, is harder than your NCLEX because every candidate wants to pass the NCLEX. Every candidate is putting so much effort into the NCLEX that they forget about the English language exam. And that's why the fails are so high. They don't get effective preparation. They don't get appropriate support. We can do that for you. So type struggle into the chat box, like some of you are right now, if you're struggling with your PTE, your IELTS, or your OET exam preparation, or if you're completely new to preparation at this point. And if you would like to successfully pass your PTE, your IELTS, and your OET, get extra support, and move to the USA and get your dream job in the USA for free, type please into the chat box if this applies to you. If you're looking basically for someone like Connetics USA to do all of this for you, type please into the chat box. Kimby has just said please, as well as everyone else that's saying please as well. Well, we've got what you need right here. Once again, mentioning our free Connetics Swoosh English PTE or IELTS or OET scholarship. We help you with every component as part of your English language instruction. As I mentioned, you get a free complimentary PTE, IELTS, or OET review course that includes free daily PTE, IELTS, OET classes, free study groups and study partners, a Telegram support group, as well as a Connetics PTE support specialist. How do you learn from that? Well, you get video courses and classes on reading, writing, listening, and speaking. You get your writing corrected by our teachers. You get your speaking corrected by our teachers. You can access recorded classes at any time, meaning you can catch up with everything and study this course around your busy lifestyle and healthcare jobs. You get mock exam, so you can do the exam ahead of doing the exam to know if you're able to pass. And you get round-the-clock support from the Swoosh and Connetics teams. How lovely is that? And it's not just the English language exam that Connetics help you out as part of this process. Connetics will help you with your NCLEX, they'll help you with your interviews, they'll help you with applying for your visa, they'll help you with your English language component, your visa screen, your US credentialing. They'll help you getting ready for the big move to the US, including financial support, clinical support, immigration support. They'll even help you when you've arrived with orientation, training, housing, schooling, etc., etc. And they'll not stop helping you once you've actually landed your dream USA healthcare job. They'll help you with step 7 here, enjoy and prosper. So there's a lot of lovely things that we can help you out with the Connetics program, which includes English language program support. All you need to do is click on this link right here. Click on the link that says bit.ly swoosh Connetics USA. I'm dropping that into the chat box right now. Click on the comments that you can see on the chat box, bit.ly swoosh Connetics USA, and get signed up to the Connetics placement program today, which includes your English language program support as well. We've helped thousands of students pass their OET, IELTS, and PTE exams. Connetics have helped thousands of students and candidates take their healthcare dream job to the USA. So get clicked on that link today, guys, and see if we can help you with the exact same thing. So guys, it's been lovely having you guys in this session today. Thanks a lot for coming along and hearing a bit more about PTE Retail Lecture. A reminder that we can help you out with your PTE, your IELTS, and your OET exam here at Swoosh English in partnership with Connetics USA, who can help you with your big dream healthcare job move to the USA. So I'm Scott from Swoosh English. Pleasure having everyone here today. Hope you enjoyed. Get clicking on that link right now and enjoy the rest of your day. Hope to see some of you again with us at Swoosh English, and good luck with everything as part of your progress. Take care. See you later, and bye-bye.